This episode is brought to you by Bank of America. What if your business could see beyond what is and into what can be? And what if you had a partner as visionary as you are? Bank of America gives customers access to trusted experts, real-time insights, and digital tools to make every move matter. What would you like the power to do? Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Akil Stokes, trader and trading coach over at tier1trading.com. Thank you for joining us once again. Today, we're going to talk about perfection in the market and specifically those who are looking for the quote-unquote perfect trading strategy. Now, a few things before we hop in. One, this podcast episode is a direct follow-up on a recent YouTube video that I put out. I believe that the video is called Building a Trading Strategy Using Moving Averages. So you may want to go and watch that video first. That way you have a better understanding of the conversation and what we are following up on. Two, I apologize in advance, but at the very beginning of this podcast, I share a weird story about a certain type of, I don't want to spoil it, but it's a weird analogy that I tried to make. I promise that it will make sense, but you need to promise me that you will not judge because it's kind of embarrassing. It was a long time ago and I was going through that phase in my life where I was dumb and high on emotions. Just don't judge me, okay? If this is your first time listening, that is not the real me. I'm a changed man. With that being said, you probably are going to judge me harshly now. Just don't do so in the comment section below. Keep it in your own mind. But I promise this story does relate to trading, especially when it comes to limiting your exposure, limiting your losses, and living to fight another day, literally in some cases. All right, let's hop in. Brains are melting after the EMA conversation. Can you tell I've built indicator-based strategies before? Some of you are amazed, like, wait a minute, I can catch a 600 pip move just off of an EMA cross? Yes. I can tell you from personal experience, and if you're ever building one, you need help, let me know. Share it. The hardest part is finding a way to avoid the crap. Finding a filter that keeps you out of, that just keeps your head above water during consolidation. Like that's all it is. Like, you're going to get beat up in consolidation no matter what. You just don't want to die. Right? Again, it goes back to one of the greatest lessons that I learned when I was a kid was how to handle getting jumped. I remember my best friend he was a boxer and just a street fighter before he was a boxer. He just used to fight a lot, man. One of those guys, right? He put me on some game. He said, Akil, here's what you do if you're ever surrounded and get jumped. Because trust me, it's not like in those karate videos, those movies, where one comes at you at a time and waits, and they all do like their little warm-up stuff in the background, right? Oh, well, that's so dumb. Why would they do that? If there's like 100 of us surrounding some person, why would we wait one at a time? Like, let's just all jump on you, end it, right? And I remember growing up as a kid, there were some kids that tried to steal my basketball court, right? Middle of the day, steal my basketball court. Me and my dad run out, scare them off. Hey, kid, hey, get away from here, hey. Right? Felt real proud of ourselves. Chained it up. Like, yeah, I just protected my turf. I'm a man. Came home next day and it was stolen. Right? They cut the chain, they stole it. Right? The very next day. Right? So I know who did it because I know where these guys live. So I'm in the moment, in blood rage, right? Fired up, not thinking with brain, right? Thinking with testosterone. And I walk over to the other side of the tracks, right? We all know what's on the other side of the tracks, right? We don't call it the other side of the tracks if it's a good place. The other side of the tracks is always a bad place. That's why we're on one side of the tracks, right? So I walk over to the other side of the tracks. I'm like, hey, I know y'all took it. I came to get my court back. Not thinking like I'm going into enemy territory and I'm gonna drag a basketball. It's like a real basketball hoop outside, like the whole bottom part with wheels, full-size court, like, I'm going to drag it back across the tracks by myself. Like, what was I thinking? But I wasn't thinking. I was young, dumb, and I come out, I'm talking my stuff. Like, hey, whoever took it, better watch out. Got something for you. Right? And then, like, just like in those, like, Kill Bill movies, like 30 people emerge. I'm like, oh, man. This ain't going how I thought. This is when the testosterone just left, right? All the testosterone ran away. And I was just the vessel. I was left there like, oh, man, wait a minute. Testosterone, come back, right? My voice changing, everything. Started cracking. What I really meant, guys, was, right? So they're all surrounding me, and you know what it is. You know what it is. So, like, I remember what my friend told me. He was in my ear. He's like, Akil, if you ever get jumped, here's what you do. Hit one person in the face, then hit the fetal position. So I pointed out. So I pointed out one. I found one guy. I said, up. Lunged at him. Boom, in the face. Curled right up in the fetal position. Took what was coming towards me. But, again, the point of the story was, one, when everyone at school is bragging about, hey, we beat this guy up yesterday, there's one guy with a swollen face that can't involve himself in the conversation. Haha, take that. Two, I didn't die. Obviously, I'm still here. I survived. So that is consolidation in a trend continuation strategy, right? You can't avoid the chop. Just like with any strategy, how you can't avoid losers. Like, you're going to lose. All strategies lose. The same best friend, I gotta pick some new friends. The same best friend that told me how to survive getting jumped, this was the friend I always talk about when I say he was a phenomenal trader. Probably the best system, aside from Todd Brown, the best system developer, meaning like mechanical systems like indicators and stuff, the best system developer I ever knew, aside from Todd Brown and some of the programmers at S&B. But his problem was that he was looking for perfection. He would have strategies that hit like 60% of the time, made lots of money, and he would never trade them live because he was like, man, I gotta get to 65%. And he'd go back in the lab and spend a few months there and tweak it, and he'd come back out and be like, Akil, I got it to 65. I'm like, okay, let's trade, let's make that money, baby, right? And he's like, no, I gotta get it to 70. And like it was never enough. Now, what we found out is that, what do you guys think was the real problem? Was he actually a perfectionist that wanted to get a 100% correct strategy? Yeah, we found out. I didn't know this until decades later, after I was a professional trader and started understanding ourselves more. He was afraid. That's all it was. He was afraid, right? And you go back and look at his life too, right? Really good athlete, but never tried out for like a team. Never tried out for the basketball team. Really good. Because it's really easy to do something when there's nothing at stake, right? It's one thing to develop a strategy. It's another thing to trade it live, right? There's a psychological like element to that. Fear, pain, right? There's a lot in that. But if you never trade it live, is there ever any pain in that? No, right? There's no pain. There's no fear if there's never actually anything at stake. But that's interesting. You see a lot of those traders go on to be like system developers too. And there's a market for that, where you simply develop systems for other people. Like, you can't trade live. Like, you just don't have it in you. And that's okay. Some people don't. But you're good at developing systems. So you develop systems for other people to trade live. There's a market for that as well. But yeah, he would keep doing this. He would never actually trade it live because he was hunting for perfection. So the idea is not to get perfection. It's not going to happen, right? The idea is to get profit. And when it comes to the strategy that we built earlier, we identify the areas that are going to give us harm, right? Trending situations are going to be good. Money. Consolidative areas are going to be bad. Dark alley, beat to death, right? How can I not avoid those consolidative times? Because you can't avoid it. It's impossible. How can I limit my exposure? How can I hit someone in the face and curl up in the ball and get beat a little bit, but live to walk back, limp back, crawl back, and fight another day. And that's where the adjustments of your strategy come in handy. That's where risk management, right? The story I told you earlier about the trader that said, yeah, I just double down on stuff and then I go broke. I'm like, well, you know what? That's probably why you're going broke, right? Risk management. And you can have different risk management plans where it's like, it's hard to judge where consolidation comes, but you can have different risk management plans where you adjust your position size within these periods. Filters that keep you out, right? There's all types of stuff you can do, but that's got to be the job of a system developer. How can I maximize my wins? How can I get as much profit as possible? Not all of it, but as possible during the times when I'm supposed to? And how can I limit my exposure during the dark times? Kind of like my solar panels, right? I make money from like April to September. And then we just got to survive the winter. We got to hope that we banked enough during the spring, summer, and fall that we can survive the winter. But that's the key. That's the key. So strategy development it's an art and a science like anything else. It is a science as far as what you're building, but it's also an art in figuring out that delicate dance between the give and the take. Because one thing, like I showed you earlier, one thing is always going to affect the other thing. You can't have both. You change one thing here, it's going to adjust somewhere over there. And the key is just finding that sweet spot that meets your expectations as a trader and what you can psychologically deal with. And obviously meets your monetary expectations as well. It gives you a profit factor that is ideal or what you're looking for. Before you go, if you happen to ask yourself, Akil, I love your podcast and I'm just wondering how I can best support you. Well, there's a few things you can do. One, you can hit that like button. Two, you can leave me a rating and a review if you haven't done so already. Do it on whatever podcasting app you listen to it on, or do it on all the podcasting apps. That's fun as well. And lastly, you can share this on your socials, right? Let people know that we're doing a great job here at the Trading Coach Podcast. And if they're interested in becoming a consistently profitable trader, you need to hop on board and start listening as well. All right, until next time, plan your trade, trade your plan. I'm gonna go get my court back.